I'm the Associate Policy Director at the John Burton Foundation. And this is our second web seminar in a series of 7 that are focused on post-secondary education. These webinars are monthly. They are held the second Thursday of the month from 10 to 11. And if you're registered for today's web seminar, then you're registered for all of these. You don't need to register individually for each one. And they will run through May of 2017. With the exception of next month, December, we'll be taking a month off for the holidays, and we'll be returning in January. Okay, so let's go through just some technical information here first. We always like to get this out of the way. The call-in information is on the slide. You can see that there is a control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. There's a questions box there. And if you want to submit a question at any point throughout the webinar, please do. We will address them during Q&A. So send them at any point. I kind of save them. I'll hold on to them, and I'll ask them during our Q&A session at the very end. We will be posting the PowerPoint from today and also an audio recording at thpplus.org, and that's under trainings, past trainings. And then just I always like to explain this for anyone who's new to these webinars. If you're listening through your computer speakers, if you're having any audio issues, it's always just a better idea to dial in using your landline. That's kind of the most reliable audio source. And so if you need that information after I go past the slide, it's actually under the audio portion of your control panel. So before I actually get into introducing today's presenters, I just want to talk about, what is this webinar today? What are we talking about here? We're going to highlight 3 collaborations between colleges, providers, child welfare agencies, Office of Education, and other stakeholders that are all organized around improving post-secondary education outcomes for foster youth, of foster youth. And we chose the 3 collaborations that we are highlighting today really because they are very different and they're all in different stages. And we're hoping that kind of what's shared here today will inspire all of you to do one of 2 things. So either reach out to existing collaboratives in your county or your region and get involved, or consider how your community might benefit from starting collaborative work if there's nothing going on currently. And some of you might ask, well, how will I know if there is something going on in my community? Through the California College Pathways Project and through also just all of our work here at the John Burton Foundation, we do talk with a lot of different stakeholders and different providers and campuses that are working with youth, and we do have knowledge of a lot of the collaboratives out there. So if you aren't aware of what is happening in your community, feel free to send me an email, and I might be able to help direct you to the right place. So we're joined today by 4 panelists who are going to give you kind of a window into the work they've been doing. We have Sarah Goldware. She's the Education and Career Development Division Manager at Beyond Emancipation in Alameda County. We have Marie Hughes. She's the Education Services Manager and supervises ILP at Family Care Network in San Luis Obispo County. And Gabrielle Ridley, who is the coordinator for Orange Coast College's Guardian Scholars Program. And that's the campus support program for foster youth, and that's in Orange County. And then Tracy Shiro is the Assistant Social Services Director with San Luis Obispo County, but she unfortunately is not going to be able to join us today after all. But we're going to leave her name up there, and we have her contact information at the end of the PowerPoint because she would be a great contact for when Marie will talk about the collaborative that they work on together. So thanks so much to the 4 of you for joining us today. So, why are we talking about collaborative work in this particular area? If you've been tuned into the work of the John Burton Foundation through the California College Pathways Project, particularly, and more recently, the work that we do with THP Plus providers and THP Plus FC providers, you know that we've been kind of pushing this collaborative work for some time. And, there are some very basic reasons. Education is an area where I think we'd all really like to see more support for foster youth because we know from data that it's just, for this particular population, is behind in the area of education, even of other kind of what we call disadvantaged populations. And understandably, there are so many odds stacked against foster youth from an early age. So we understand why the data looks like it looks, but we know that it can improve, and we know that with support that that foster youth can reach their educational goals. And then we also know that foster youth are often interfacing with so many different people and programs and systems. And really, the coordination of all of these different parties is essential, because if they're not coordinated, it's confusing and stressful for the youth that they're working with, and it can be messy. So the coordination is really important. And then the really kind of the pressing reason why we need collaboration is extended foster care, right? We know that there's a lot of collaborative work happening as a result of extended foster care, but we can do better. We can work even more collaboratively and have even kind of better coordination. And we know that, there's such a tremendous opportunity that's been provided by the extension of extended foster care to really better support youth in post-secondary education. All of a sudden, we are still connected with youth that are college age, that are foster youth. And so, and we know that the Cal Youth study just recently found that when you compare youth who are still in care to youth who had left care, they interviewed them at age 17 and then again at age 19. So those who had at age 19 had already left care versus those who were still in care, we know that the youth that were still in care were all of these things that are on the screen: twice as likely to be enrolled in school. Of those enrolled, more likely to be attending school full-time. So the list, I'm not going to read these all, but it goes on and on. We know that when youth are supported, they have more of a chance of success. So we really see this as a tremendous opportunity to, like this says, it takes teamwork to work collaboratively to better support youth. So today we have representatives from collaboratives from 3 different counties in California, and you can see from the screen that these are counties with very different characteristics. Big, small. You can see at the top of the screen, or at the top of each box, the number of non-minor dependents in the county, and that was as of July 1st of this year. And non-minor dependents are the youth who are participating in extended foster care, so age 18, 19, and 20. And you can see that Alameda County has a community college district. That's one of the districts in the state that's implemented the state-funded KFES program, and that's the Foster Youth Campus Support Program that was established by SB 1023, and that's that's new. And so we definitely want to think about how communities can collaborate around this establishment of this campus support program at community colleges. So here's an example: Alameda County, of a county that that is doing that. And then you see Alameda and Orange have community college districts that are multi-campus districts, and San Luis Obispo County is a smaller county, so they have a single college district. And then they also have a single THP Plus and THP Plus SC provider, whereas Orange and Alameda have several providers in their county. So you're seeing a very different situations, or very different kind of setups here based on the different characteristics in these counties. And I think it's important that we pay attention to this, because we know that not everything will work in every county. And so we want to highlight kind of diverse examples. And another piece to that is really that these collaboratives are different in their leadership. So Alameda County is a provider-led collaborative. Orange County, which actually has many collaboratives, the one we'll hear about most today, is college-led. And then in San Luis Obispo County, this collaborative kind of runs a program that is led by the county. So these are very different communities, very different collaboratives, and we think that of these 3, hopefully something will resonate with you all, and you can kind of take it back to your communities and think about ways that you might do your work collaboratively. So first, we're going to hear from Sarah Goldware, and she's with Beyond Emancipation, and she's going to talk about the Alameda County College Bridge Collaborative.
Great. Hi. Good morning, everyone. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about the Alameda County College Bridge Collaborative today. And we are a group of community-based organizations, public agencies, community colleges, four-year universities, really working towards the big goal of improving post-secondary education outcomes for foster youth in Alameda County. And I'm going to today give you an overview of the history of the collaborative, sort of how we got to where we are, review our goals, and talk about our next steps. I think that Simone had us go first because we're really in the beginning phases of our collaborative. We're really ending a planning phase now, and we've created a 2-year plan and are really about to get to work on that plan. So yeah, I'm going to tell you about where we are now. Go to the next slide. So my organization, Beyond Emancipation, is the convener of the collaborative. We are Alameda County's aftercare and ILP provider, and we have THP Plus and THP Plus FC programs as well. And in addition to these county contracts, we receive some additional government and private funding for several intensive education and employment programs, and that includes a partnership with the Peralta Community College District. And so this is a little bit of context about why BE is the convener of the Bridge Collaborative. Our community college support program, B2B, it started back in 2010 as a partnership between BE and Laney College EOPS. We really recognized that the college needed some additional capacity to provide the case management and the support that foster youth really needed to succeed. And we also knew that as a CBO, we needed to partner closely with the college to provide the academic counseling and the academic expertise that they could provide. So right now we have staff located part-time on the campus. We have a desk in the EOPS office. We provide coaching and case management support to youth on the Laney campus. We do weekly skill building workshops on campus. And because Peralta was one of the districts to receive the KFES funding from the state, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, we're now expanding this partnership to other Peralta colleges as well. And go to the next slide, Simone. So back to the collaborative I was asked to talk about. The Alameda County College Bridge Collaborative has 3 primary goals. So we are working on connecting more youth to college and really working on this through engagement with K-12 stakeholders, child welfare system, and caregivers. The second goal is connecting foster youth already in college to campus support programs. And this goal is really about helping the Peralta colleges get as many foster youth as possible connected to their KFES programs, which are currently under their target enrollment number. So the collaborative is really working to support them in making sure that youth can access all the great resources that they can offer. And the third goal is to improve the rates of persistence and graduation of foster youth. And that's primarily through education, training, and really fostering collaboration among providers and systems. And I think THP Plus providers, many of whom are on the phone right now, I think, are really key to this. So our collaborative members include county agencies, school districts, 2- and 4-year colleges, and a variety of different types of community-based organizations, as you can see here. And Simone, you can go to the next slide. So this table lays out who collaborative members are. We started with just 6 members, and those were the Alameda County Office of Education, the Alameda County Social Services Agency, Laney College, BE, the East Bay Children's Law Office, and the Foster Youth Alliance, which is no longer in existence, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But the rest, you can see we have a good number of systems involvement, colleges, and community-based organizations. And we have some work to do to involve more school districts and more sort of caregivers and folks who are on the K-12 spectrum. You can go to the next slide. So this slide outlines sort of a quick timeline of the history of the collaborative, and as I mentioned earlier, we're just ending a planning phase. And so it's been a little bit of a long planning phase, as you can see, but I'm pretty confident we're ready to do the work at this point. So the collaborative really started when one organization, the East Bay Children's Law Office, had the idea to plan a day-long convening focused on connecting child welfare providers and community college staff. So this is sort of in the context of extended foster care. There was a realization that those two systems, child welfare and the colleges, weren't really talking to each other enough. So a planning committee was formed, and that included 5 of the founding members of the collaborative. And we had the Fostering Pathways to College conference back in November of 2014. And along with that conference, we launched a countywide listserv for folks to share ideas and resources for foster youth in college. Over the next year, the Foster Youth Alliance, who is the original convener of the collaborative, worked on raising money to fund the collaborative. And in September 2015, we received a capacity building grant from the Hellman Foundation with the goal of really expanding the membership of the collaborative and creating a 2-year plan for this work. And then a large part of our work right at the beginning of this grant period was really encouraging and supporting the Peralta College District to apply for the CAFES funding. And so there were 2 collaborative members who were sort of at the table for this whole process, supported the grant writing process, offered training to the colleges as they started to roll out their programs. And I believe that this collaborative was a big reason why the Peralta District received this funding and why they even decided to sit down and go for this funding. So that was a big victory for us. And then in February 2016, we held our first larger collaborative meeting that included more community-based organizations, school districts, and then had representation from the 4 Peralta colleges, which we don't think would have been possible if they hadn't gotten CAFES. So we held a collaborative event in March in which all of the Peralta colleges came and spoke directly to foster youth about their programs. We supported youth enrolling in school and provided training to child welfare and probation officers. In April of 2016, FIA transferred the role of convener to BE. And over the summer and fall, the collaborative met several more times to develop and finalize our 2-year plan, which we now have. And then last month, we received some additional funding from Hellman as bridge funding to help us really get started on that plan. So over the past year, oops, sorry, the animation's got a little messed up here. Over the past year, the value of the collaborative, I think, has become really clear to members, especially to the colleges who are involved. We provide coordination linking many existing efforts to improve post-secondary outcomes. We provide access to a large network of providers to college staff, and then sort of vice versa, which is a group that in such a large county, in Alameda County, has always sort of had trouble connecting. And so just getting them into one room for quarterly meetings has been a big deal. And then we provide information sharing across county systems, CBOs, and colleges. So that's both in person at our collaborative meetings, but also through the listserv that I talked about earlier. And then I'm going to just talk a little bit about some highlights of our 2-year plan. So we're going to provide training on college-going culture, college access, and campus supports to relative caregivers, foster parents, group home staff, all the folks who are sort of in the child welfare world in the K-12 realm. We are also going to engage with local school districts to ensure appropriate college-ready goals for foster youth within their local control action plans. And this is something that's already being done in Oakland Unified School District, which is the district in our county that has the most foster youth. But we really want to work with collaborative members to expand this to other districts. We're going to host college days similar to the one that we had in March to really connect foster youth directly to college staff. And that's, ILP is going to be a big part of that, and BE just became the provider of ILP this year, so we believe we can be a great partner in that. We are providing a really important outreach and recruitment network for the CAFES program so that they can serve as many youth as possible in our county. We're going to work on creating a more, like a deep dive financial aid guide and a training series for foster youth to better understand the financial aid process. In our brainstorming around our 2-year plan, foster youth not really understanding all the implications of financial aid around what happens when you drop a class or when you have an overpayment, and academic probation, which I recognize is a really big challenge, so this is something that the collaborative really wants to tackle. And then we're going to continue regular meetings to foster collaboration and communication. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges and sort of why we've been so careful about planning over the last couple of years. As Simone mentioned, Alameda County is big, and we have many providers serving foster youth. We have, I believe, this is a little bit off the top of my head, but I think 5 different THP Plus and THP Plus FC programs. We have a couple of different legal organizations. We have many mental health providers. We have 7 community colleges in our county. We have 1 CSU. We have a UC, and so and within those colleges, they all have different amounts of resources to serve foster youth. So the 4 Peralta colleges have a lot of resources right now, and then we have 2 other community college districts within our county that don't have those resources, and we're trying to include them as well in the collaborative to provide them support. We have a lot of foster youth, and as Simone, you saw there, we have like around 500 non-minor dependents, and they are also sort of spread out throughout the state because we also have an incredibly high cost of living here in Alameda County, and more of our youth are moving to more affordable communities, and so we do want to make sure that they can also access services where they live. And in terms of our next steps, we are really working to establish a clear leadership and accountability structure. Over the next couple of months, we're going to be really establishing our steering committee for the work moving forward and work groups around each of our 3 goals. We have some work to do to engage some additional stakeholders, and we're going to continue to move forward on our 2-year plan. And that is all I have for now, but I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Sarah, so much for sharing that information with us, and we'll definitely loop back with you during Q&A. So next, we're going to hear from Gabrielle Ridley at Orange Coast College about the collaborative work that their Guardian Scholars Program does.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So talking about Guardian Scholars at Orange Coast College, one of the first things that's important to know is that we've been doing this for a while. I always tell folks, use the work that we've done as a roadmap and to give you ideas about where you can go, but also understand that we're coming up on 20 years. The Guardian Scholars Program at Orange Coast was founded in 1999, and we were, as far as we know, one of the very first programs at a community college, and really at any college or university in the country. So Guardian Scholars means different things at different places. At Orange Coast, there's a comprehensive support program for current and former foster youth students, the goal of which is to enable these students to successfully engage in the college experience and move on to whatever their own goals are beyond that. Next slide, please, Simone. So just a little bit about who we are and what we do. Our program serves anywhere from 80 to 100 students at any given time. We've got about 375 self-identified foster youth on our campus. And as you can see, there's a fairly large disparity between the number of students that we serve and the number of students who are on our campus who might be eligible for our services. And what that comes down to is visibility, obviously, making ourselves visible to the students on our campus and in our community, which is very much where the collaboratives come in. And also the fact that we do have programmatic expectations for students to participate. Our structure is sort of a scholarship model, so it's something that the students have earned, and it's something for celebrating, of course, but it can be daunting to some. So we are in the process of sort of revamping the program and reaching out and reaching in to those students that we're not yet serving. As you can see, the majority of our students are or were in foster care. We also do have a process to admit students who are juvenile justice affiliated, homeless, dreamers, and other folks who fall under that umbrella. Next slide, Simone. So it takes a village, and we'll just move on quickly from there. The whole point that we're talking about this morning is these collaboratives, and we know that our students are coming to us oftentimes without the sort of connections the typical student has. And that's why it's worth every ounce of effort to develop these collaboratives that we're talking about today. Next slide. So what you're looking at on the screen here is an overview of just some of the things that my office participates in. We very much value working with other individuals because we know that we are not the experts and that our knowledge together is much greater than any knowledge that we could have on our own. I don't do this by myself, and I wouldn't expect you to do that either. We've got a fairly large staff. We've got a 12-to-1 student-to-staff ratio, which is phenomenal, and I'm very privileged to be a part of that team. And having that large team means that we can engage the community in collaboratives in different ways. One of the collaboratives that I'll be focusing on this morning is the Foster Youth Outcomes Work Group. So to give you a little bit of background on this group, and to zoom out a little bit, the Orange County Network is made up of Orange Coast College, Golden West College, our sister campus, and Cal State Fullerton, our feeder four-year university. And we developed the Orange County Network in partnership with the Stewart Foundation back in 2013 with the express goal of creating a pipeline from the community colleges to the four-year university. But what we've realized is that we need to extend that pipeline back as well, and moving that back into the K-12. And that realization, in part, came from our participation in the Foster Youth Outcomes Work Group, which is a collaborative work group that's been around for years, helmed by actual Orange County department agencies such as Social Services, Department of Education, Foster Youth Services. There are representatives from a number of colleges and universities in the area, as well as housing programs, Department of Mental Health, community partners, and the like. It's a large group. Historically, it's met monthly. They just took a vote, and we're going to go every other month moving forward, just in the interest of time, because our county is very well connected, and that means we have a lot of meetings, and the scheduling becomes difficult. But this is a fabulous group because there are so many people at the table, and it's one of the only ways that we are able to connect well to one another and share information. So the objectives of this group are improving the outcomes in the areas of education, employment, housing, transition, and permanency for current and former foster youth. Next slide. So I did mention that we do have just a wealth of resources at the table when it comes to the individuals attending the Foster Youth Outcomes Work Group. And in terms of linking key partners, sharing resources, having training opportunities so that we're speaking the same language and that we're moving in the same direction. That impact is wide and varied, sometimes a little hard to nail down, even though ostensibly we're talking about outcomes. But one thing that we do know is that 80% of high school graduates who are current or former foster youth in Orange County, I'm sorry, let me revise. Current and former foster youth in Orange County have an 80% high school graduation rate, and that's compared to somewhere around 50% is the national average. So we are doing well, and we are excited about that. And obviously then the goal is to move from there into the future and to increase successes, to build successes, and to break these cycles of poverty and abuse that land our students in our program. I've included on this slide the contact for the Foster Youth Outcomes Work Group in case anybody is interested in joining in the Orange County area. It is a phenomenal group. And then the next thing that I'll be talking about is an outgrowth of that group, which is the Building Bridge for College Success Committee. And we can just jump straight from that into the next slide, please. So I'm just going to call it the Bridges Committee because it's a mouthful. Bridges grew as a natural extension of the Foster Youth Outcomes Committee. When we looked around at the table and said, you know, we're here to talk about outcomes, but we're having trouble actually measuring them, and we're having trouble moving the needle because our efforts are aligned, but we're not together, if that makes sense. So we realized that a lot of us were doing some of the same things, and we should probably be doing them in partnership because we are better together, whether folks realize that or not. So this committee was formed just earlier this year. The membership is very specific to the Orange County Network of Schools, Orange County Social Services Agency, specifically the Transitional Age Foster Youth Department, and Orange County Department of Ed, Foster Youth Services Department. So we are connected with the liaisons who are in the high school districts who know who the foster youth are in their district. And that gives us wonderful access that we didn't have before of marketing directly to those students. And the goal of this committee is developing and strengthening that pipeline, as I mentioned, all the way back into the K-12 and forward into the four-year university. Next slide, please. So what do we do in this committee? Committees love meetings. So that's one thing that we do. We are meeting quarterly at present, and generally in those meetings we're sharing best practices, current events, the various things that we have going on that we want to invite partnership into. We focus on outreach and education. We're doing college preview days throughout Orange County where we've invited the numerous community colleges and universities in our area to have open house events specifically geared for foster youth students where we can connect those students with the services that are designed to support them. We are putting on financial aid and FAFSA workshops, as well as college application workshops and campus tours. And this is something that's really worth pointing out for folks in our area in particular, but also anyone who's looking to create a similar model. We are very mobile, and we are very happy to come to you. So if you're a housing provider, you've got youth in your care, and you want them to have the opportunity to talk to a college representative, I highly recommend reaching out to those folks because it absolutely is a mutually beneficial partnership, one where we're always looking to have more students, and you're looking to connect your youth to programs like ours. So these workshops, we have tablets, and we'll roll them out, and we will do financial aid, FAFSA together, and that's whether you're going to come to Orange Coast or not, because we know that we want these students to be successful. That is our unified vision and goal. And if they're going to be successful with us, that's fabulous. And if they're going to be successful somewhere else, that's fabulous too. So that's what we're all about. And then together in our work group, we are developing strategic initiatives. One example of this is the Junior Scholars Program, in which we are training some of our community college students, our more seasoned students, to be mentors to foster youth students who are in their junior and senior years of high school. Sort of not just a peer mentor program, but also a let me tell you what I wish I had known when I was your age sort of program. So it's an outreach opportunity, but it's also an opportunity to develop leadership in our students and to support the next generation of students who will hopefully be joining us at the colleges and universities. Next slide, please. So impact is a little hard to measure here because we haven't been doing this for too long. But the timely connection to information and resources is phenomenal. We've got 3 different conferences that are in the process of being developed out of this work group, and we've only been meeting for about 6 months. So we've got a professional development conference for the community, we've got a leadership conference for students themselves, and we've got a professional development conference for foster youth support staff at the colleges and universities. In terms of open channels of communication, this piece can't be underscored enough. I actually come out of the group home realm, and when I was there, I just felt like I had no idea what was going on anywhere. So participating in groups like this and being connected to the key players, the people who are getting the work done, and just being on all of the email listservs because I happen to be connected to those people has been invaluable. And as a result of our efforts, I do truly believe that just in the Orange Coast College Guardian Scholars Program alone, We had 4 transfers to Cal State University Fullerton in the past 2 semesters, and one of our students received the Guardian Scholarship, which is a full ride scholarship to the university. We also had 38 new students in the fall, which is huge. As I mentioned, we serve 80 to 100 students at any given time. So to have 38 new students is pretty significant. And the last big piece is the momentum that we're gaining. In this work, this is hard work and it's hard work. And the phrase that's kind of been my theme for the last year is that you can't pour from an empty cup. Folks who are in the helping profession, we know we give and give and give and give, and burnout is a thing. The rate of turnover in social services is somewhere around 40%. That's huge, and it's damaging to the students that we serve, and we know that. So having momentum with a group like this, with people who have a shared vision and shared values, it really is energizing. When we talk together, we're excited about the work that we're doing and where we're going in the future. So if I may just give a little bit of advice, learning from what we've had and the work that we've done, get involved. If you're a housing provider in particular, I know you can get bogged down with all the work that you're doing, but even if it's a matter of identifying 1 or 2 individuals on the team to participate in some of these groups, I highly, highly recommend it because it will improve the work that you're doing. It will improve outcomes for your youth. We know the benefits of professional development, not only for ourselves, but for the quality of our program. That said, I'd encourage you to be strategic in your partner selection. All of the partnerships that we have, those didn't happen overnight. So I'd say someone like an ILP coordinator, someone who's in the transitional planning department of social services, or perhaps a foster youth liaison with your county's Department of Ed, connecting to 1 to 3 of those individuals, because you know those folks are connected to everybody else. And give yourself the grace of knowing that this process does take time. Connect with folks who are already doing this work. Making connections with organizations that are looking to start a program is wonderful as well, but you definitely want to be connected to people who've been doing this for a while. And that might mean reaching beyond your county to do that and to calling folks like us on this webinar. I'm very happy to take phone calls, emails, whatever, to guide people in this process because, as I said, we're all in this together. And I very firmly believe in supporting each other through this process. The next bit of advice is to establish a mission at the outset of your effort that has clear, measurable goals and explicit timelines. That Foster Youth Outcomes Committee, like I said, is a fabulous committee, and it's a great place to get together and to talk about what we're doing, resources, those sorts of things. But when the mission of the committee is to talk about outcomes and we're not actually doing that, that's a problem. And that's why the Bridges Committee was formed out of that. And it was formed with a very clear mission and measurable and explicit goals and timelines so that we can hold each other accountable to actually getting that work done. Celebrate successes. It's easy to get bogged down and to get discouraged, but every meeting is a success. Every time we move a student to a higher level, these sorts of things are easy to miss through the fog, and I can't stress enough to really focus on them and celebrate them because they do matter and we are making a difference. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'll leave you with this. Remember that this work doesn't happen overnight. And then a bit of encouragement on the next slide. It's not about perfect, it's about effort. And when you implement that effort into your life every single day, that's where transformation happens. That's how change occurs. Keep going and remember why you started. Thank you all.
Thank you, Gabrielle, so much. I love that last slide. We all need a little inspiration right now. Thanks so much. And we're going to next move into San Luis Obispo County, and we're going to hear from Marie Hughes from Family Care Network about the Transition Age Youth Financial Assistance Program.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here today. So I want to talk to you about a unique program we've been able to start through a county-led collaboration here in San Luis Obispo County. We all love acronyms in our field, so our acronym is PAYFAP, which does stand for Transition Age Youth Financial Assistance Program. And really, in consideration about why we would even come up with this, was kind of born out of just a literal revelation. Tracy Shiro, the Assistant Director of Department of Social Services, was not able to join me today, but she was sending her own kids off to school and realized that there were all these other fees and things going on, and got to thinking about the kids of San Luis Obispo County, those that are dependents in this county, and kind of thinking about, well, what do they do? Who's paying for these extra fees? How are they navigating this? And so from that awareness and through collaboration between her and Family Care Network was really born this idea of how can we utilize the funding, where do we have funding, and how can we utilize that to really support our kids and moving them forward in their future, and helping them to, like was already mentioned, really break out of those cycles of abuse and other negative outcomes. So the key funding source really for TAFAP, which I'll kind of say that now, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts, is we're utilizing our wraparound reserve funds, which is something that's available in every county in California. And so there's access to funding to create a similar program such as this where you're at as well. So having those conversations and looking at where the funding can come from would be a key point there. So you can go ahead and move to the next slide. So who's involved? We are very fortunate in this county to have, although we are small, we're mighty, right? So we have a really strong collaboration here in San Luis Obispo County. As you can see there, there's no one larger than the other there. We're all really equal partners in trying to look after the young people that are our kids. And so I want to kind of explain kind of who does what in this collaborative here. So I'm going to start in the middle there with the Department of Social Services. As I mentioned just previously, that's of course where our primary funding stream comes from, and kind of the catalyst of being able to initiate this really unique program. And then Family Care Network is the one who administers the program and really is providing that case management and all the daily nuts and bolts and intricate pieces of the actual programmatic side and meeting with the students. And then the Independent Living Program is our main referral resource. They're really referring eligible youth, assisting the youth in completing any required paperwork, helping them to make the connections, helping to introduce even the concept of going off to college. We partner closely with our probation here in San Luis Obispo County, who are also referring over youth and close collaborators. The San Luis Obispo County Office of Education, we're a part of their quarterly collaboratives and meetings. We're deeply connected with them. And as Gabrielle was just mentioning, the importance of really having that pipeline going both ways, we're working in that same vein of really trying to communicate to youth that are in foster care in that K-12 side of things, starting as early as 14, letting them know that there's an opportunity for college. So making sure that information gets out. We have a college transition specialist that is a private contractor that is jointly funded through Department of Social Services and the SLO County Office of Education. That's been a really integral piece of the success of this program too, being able to have a skilled, trained professional counselor that can meet individually with each one of our students as is appropriate. And that's been a really good driving force for a lot of the success our youth are having to connect. And then again, we have beautiful connections with, like I mentioned, our K-12 education system. But we also enjoy really strong partnerships specifically with all the colleges in our region. And as was mentioned, we do have Cal Poly, the one CSU, and in San Luis Obispo County, we do just have the one community college, Cuesta, but we're very close, and it's just a few miles away is Hancock College. And so we're close partners, actually participating on the Foster Youth Advisory Board for Cuesta and Hancock. And Hancock is also a CAFE program as well. So that's kind of how it's connected there. So if you want to go ahead and move to the next slide. So really the purpose of TAFAP is to provide financial support that's going to really enhance their life. But you're going to see here in just a minute, TAFAP is so much more than that financial piece. It's case management, it's supporting them in building healthy relationships, persistence in their education, connecting with community resources, housing, just kind of moving forward in life. So next slide. So I'm not going to go through this in an exhaustive manner. I'll let you look through it as well. But this is kind of our core eligibility. Primarily, they need to be eligible for ILP in San Luis Obispo County. So if they meet the requirements, eligibility for ILP, which in San Luis County we provide ILP services for youth 14 through 21, then they will be eligible for TAFAP when the time comes for them to pursue post-secondary education. We have some youth in our county that do some concurrent education, so they're still in high school, but they're also taking college classes or maybe finishing high school early. So we do have some youth under 18 that are able to utilize this as well. And one thing I want to highlight there at the bottom, it talks about the exceptions being exceeded to age 24. However, if we have a youth, we kind of match our extension to the THP Plus being extended for up to age 25 if the youth is in school. So we're trying to match that with TAFAP. So we have a couple students who were 1 quarter or 1 semester away from completing a degree. However, they turned 24, and so we were able to coordinate an extension to get them to that finish line, which took them into beyond 24. So that's one of the unique attributes, I think, too. Next slide. So here you see kind of just a breakdown of the overview of what's going on. So TAFAP was implemented in July of 2010, and it started off more on the kind of just administrative side of things, and it's since really progressed to a full-on case management, supportive, interactive piece. So it's really transitioned into a program. So we've had that's been a unique attribute, I think, of this program. And so during that time, the culmination of that time, kind of up to, let's see, these numbers were pulled, this would be through September of 2016. We've served right around 200 youth that have participated in post-secondary education. Not all of those 200 have completed degrees, but they've all interacted, which is a success in many regards, too. And we've had several of our youth that have, and I'm going to get into our statistics here in a minute measured to those national averages. We have several of our youth who are completing vocational, bachelor's, community college. I just talked to our coordinator, and 100% of our youth who complete an associate's degree are also transferring on for bachelor's degrees. So that's pretty exciting numbers too. They're continuing on with their education. And then as you can see up towards the top, we have several that are still eligible and able to continue on to graduate school. We've had 3 that are attending graduate school. We have a couple more in the process right now. They're still maintaining eligibility. And ironically enough, for benefit for us, is actually all of them are social work, masters in social work majors. So that'll be great for the field. The thing I want to highlight too is, so just kind of mentioning, we only have kind of the 3 main higher education institutions here locally. However, youth from our county are moving away and going to school wherever they get accepted. We've had youth attend college in Texas, Hawaii, Arizona, all throughout California. They're attending vocational programs, 2-year colleges, community colleges, 4-year institutions. We have one young lady who received an immense amount of scholarships on her own and is able to almost fully fund a private university education with just a little dab of help from us, but that's all because of her hard work. So we really can send youth anywhere, and we actually have youth that are in some of the other counties that were represented today. You can move on to the next slide. So here are those percentages I wanted to kind of give you a comparison look at. So I think we're all pretty familiar with what the national percentages say for our foster youth, and there's varying information if that 2 to 3% is associate's degree or bachelor's degree, and so I kind of left it broad there. But I want to highlight just below that, through TAFAP, our TAFAP participants are completing a degree combined, 2-year and 4-year degrees at a rate of about 18%. So if you're just looking at that number, our kids are leaps and bounds ahead of the national average. And then 7% of our TAFAP youth will have completed a bachelor's degree by this coming May. So it was just mentioned earlier about celebrating those successes. That's definitely something we're doing and really championing our kids on and making sure that they have the access to the support they need to continue their success. Next slide. So it's been mentioned earlier too, just with the housing. I think we're all pretty aware in California of the housing crisis right now, and just as Alameda County was mentioning that they are a pretty expensive place to live, San Luis Obispo is pretty high up there. It's pretty expensive to live here. So there's a high rate of homelessness, and so some of the things TAFAP's been able to do is really help support reducing that homelessness and helping to get our youth housed. And that comes in the form of promoting and encouraging those who are eligible to participate in THP Plus foster care or THP Plus. Again, some are in THPP even if they're younger. And then additionally, those who need additional rental assistance. We've been able to pay a first month's deposit, partial and full rental assistance for differing time periods. All this support we're offering is all with the goal in mind of connecting them with all the other available resources first and helping to move them towards independence. So we do some titration and really work on them to learn how to manage on their own. So you can move on to the next slide, please. So just briefly, again, I'm not going to go through this. This is just a general overview of kind of some of the essentials of things TAFAP provides. Again, we're really focused on linking them back. Both Cuesta College and Hancock have programs. Cuesta's is called CAFE that is catered towards serving the foster youth, and they have book support and other resources, and Hancock does too. And any college they're at, we're really trying to help dial the students into their campus supports as well, which is, again, the Guardian Scholars, I believe, was mentioning, it's hugely important for them to have that on-campus support. So that's another attribute of us helping to link our youth back to the community. Next slide, please. I want to talk a little bit about our non-financial support. So, of course, there's dollars, there's money available, and there's a process we go through for ensuring the youth are accurately requesting what they need and reporting what they need. We also, a huge element of why I believe TAFAP has helped our students to be so successful is that case management assistance, that case management support piece. This is a very brief snapshot of what is provided primarily by our TAFAP coordinator. And they're getting checked in on, they're getting notes of encouragement. That's a big piece of it. Again, celebrating those successes. Knowing our youth personally, finding out personal attributes. We communicate a lot by email, and text and phone calls are really important. Meeting the youth where they're at, really finding out what works for them. If one needs more reminding for meeting deadlines and requirements, we're going to do that early on, and with a plan to help them to learn how to manage their time more effectively. And then again, with that tutoring and mentoring, we provide access to tutors, again, looking first at what's available at their college or what the natural support they have, and then moving out from there. We include them in different workshops throughout the year. We have mentors available, both through our partnership with a CASA mentor program and also through Mentors Through Family Care Network and our youth employment program. So we've got mentors covered if they need one, and youth are starting to take more and more advantage of that. You can go to the next slide, please. So a few of the events that we hold throughout the year, these are all in partnership and in collaboration with ILP, Department of Social Services, and Probation. We have a college and career exploration night, and we just had our second one since ILP program has been here this past October. And this is a really fun night. We get to include a lot of different vendors, colleges, employers. The one we just held, 2 of our youth walked away with job interviews the next day, which was a success of all kinds. We where it's a really hands-on experience, really catered to what the youth are asking for. So this year they had really asked a lot about career technical education, and so we had labor unions represented. We had that focus from both of the local community colleges come in, really listening to what our youth are interested in and wanting to know more about. And that's, again, a 10-year age span right there, really trying to reach down to the younger population and giving them aspirations for what their future could look like. Financial aid night, that includes supporting them with filling out the FAFSA, knowing what are the resources, and what was kind of talked about earlier too, understanding what is financial aid and how does it affect me and why is it important. Those are ongoing conversations, of course, but we have a night that's totally tailored to that. We have, during the winter break and summer break, we have high school like social skills camps, really targeting that 8th to 12th grade population, looking at goal setting and future planning, and that's a broad description of what we do in those groups, but the youth are really reporting back really positive feedback from having those opportunities. And then we have an awards night every year, again, celebrating successes, but we're also able to give away scholarships at that night. There's in partnership with, you know, the Rotary and the Foster Parent Association and other community partners that are starting to come forward. I think that the key thing there is just really creating an opportunity to continue to promote educational awareness. We try to, well, we do always have a speaker, a youth speaker that has participated in higher ed and gone on and is able to speak to their peers and those that are a little bit younger than them and encourage them forward. Can go to the next slide, please. So kind of looking at lessons learned, the first one there is that partnering with the community. That's been talked about kind of over and over, and it's so important. And one of the ways that that really stands out to me is I feel like it really provides pathways for more people to be involved in supporting our population. You know, we need more foster parents right now. We need more people that are able to support our young people as different policies come down, but not everybody's equipped or wanting to do that role. And by partnering with our community and bringing in employers and educational institutions and community members and private donors, it kind of gives everyone an opportunity to participate and be a part of the success and be a part of helping to promote that success in our youth. And then collaboration and role clarification, really helping all those that we partner with to work to their strengths, really supporting them and identifying what's the most beneficial way for them to incorporate and support this population and to support each other. It's been a really remarkable thing to be a part of personally, just to be a part of our community here, and the collaborations that we have been really strong. And finding those teachable moments, kind of combine the last two there, those teachable moments and empowering and coaching the youth. We're really looking for, I mean, young people, regardless of your background or experience, young people make mistakes or missteps or whatever you want to call it sometimes. And so really trying to find that teachable moment, you know, where the young person maybe received their financial aid money and didn't think to spread it out over 4 months and spend it all, and now they're hungry and can't pay their rent and can't get their Scantrons. So we have a teachable moment. We, of course, make sure they're not hungry and make sure their housing's stable, and we find them some Scantrons. We buy those if they need to. But then we talk through it and we coach them and we help them to find out, you know, kind of what could have been done differently, and help them to build those important skills that sometimes they haven't had access to a caring adult that's had that conversation with them about budgeting. So that's a big part of what we're really looking at doing and doing as well.
Thank you, Marie. We're at time. So what we're going to do is we're going to take just 2 questions that will probably take just a minute to answer, and then we will wrap. And so I want to thank all of our panelists for, I know there's so much content to squish into little 15-minute segments, so I just want to thank you guys. That's talent right there. And I think that we have some follow-up questions that maybe we can ask you and forward to the people who have submitted those questions. But I'll just take two public questions here. The first one was, where can I find the number of non-minor dependents in my county? And that information is available through the California Child Welfare Indicators Project. And what I'll do is I'll send the link to that in the follow-up email that I send to all of you. And that is data from the CWS CMS. And it aggregates it and makes publicly available reports online. And then another question just about TAFAP actually was, is the funding only available for youth whose cases are inside San Luis Obispo County? That was a question for you, Marie.
Yeah, so right now, this TAFAP is available only to youth who were in care in San Luis Obispo County. There are occasional exceptions if they have a permanent connection to this county and they're living and residing and going to school here. I know that Santa Barbara County has started a version of TAFAP as well, but the one I'm speaking of today is primarily focused on San Luis Obispo County youth.
Great. Someone asked also, is TAFAP available in all counties? And the answer to that is no, it could be. Counties could choose to offer this program with their RAP savings, their RAP reserves that Marie mentioned, but it is not something that is a state mandated program. It's something that San Luis Obispo chose to do, and it sounds like now Santa Barbara is choosing to do. So that's great. You guys should all encourage your counties to look into this program model and see if it makes sense in your community for sure. And I think we'll just do one more quick question. And this is for Sarah, is the college event more of an event with resource tables or workshops, and kind of how long is it and what info is given out?
Yeah, so we just had one last year that was a resource. We had resource tables from different colleges, and the colleges did different presentations on their programs. And then youth had the opportunity to actually get on the computer and get help applying for college. And so, yeah, I think we have to figure out what the event's going to look like this coming year. And we didn't have the number of youth that we wanted last year, so we're going to have to do a lot of work with all the providers in our county to make sure that they're getting young people out there to participate and benefit from this. And I think it was really helpful for the youth who were there to actually get to talk to someone who works at the college and have a familiar face to connect with once they get to the school, as opposed to just getting help from their provider, with college sort of being a place that exists somewhere that's really unfamiliar. So the plan is to get more young people involved and to have representation from each college to both be at a resource table and make presentations to the youth.
Thanks, Sarah. And I know there were a lot of other questions submitted. We will try to get those answers to those of you who submitted those questions, and I will be sending out, like I said, this PowerPoint to all of you, and it will also be available along with the recording on the THP Plus website. That's thpplus.org. And I will send out the link to the Child Welfare Indicators Project as well in that email. Thanks so much to all of you for attending, and I hope that you all have a good rest of November, and we will see you in January. Happy holidays, because we won't see you or talk with you before then, so have also a great December. See you in January.